If you have pets and you paint watercolor, you've probably been painting and suddenly a hair appears right in the middle of what you're doing. And when that happens, what should you do? I'm gonna go pet Moogie and get a couple hair samples so we can explore this. I've taped down 3 different pieces of paper so we can experiment a bit. In the top one, I'm just going to paint it, put a hair on it, and leave it. On the middle one, I'm gonna paint it where it's super duper wet, and then I'm gonna remove it while it's super wet and try to kind of fix the area that I just lifted from. And on the bottom one, we're going to paint it, place the hair down, and then we're gonna simulate that you were painting and you kind of didn't notice until things had started to soak in a bit more. And at that point, I'm gonna try to remove it. Then we're gonna let all of these dry. I'm not gonna use the heat gun on this because we don't want the hair to fly away and change the results of this. I think watercolor is so fascinating because each one of these explores a slightly different variable and we get such different results. When we leave the hair on the wet paint, it actually attracts some of the water and then it creates some backgrounds around it, which could create some interesting effects, but it's definitely noticeable. On the other hand, if we discover it while things are still super wet and remove it and then smooth things out, it's just fine. Don't even notice that there was a hair there at all. But when you try to remove it when things are kind of damp and are at different stages of drying on the paper, this is the instance where it usually sends you into a panic mode because you're like, I'm gonna take this out because I don't want it to ruin it. And then you're like, suddenly, oh no, I'm ruining it. The more you mess with it, the more you're lifting color from certain areas and kind of affecting the results and how smooth this is actually going to be. So then what should you do if you get a hair in your painting? Ideally, you're going to discover it when things are still super wet. You're going to remove it and then just kind of smooth over those areas, keeping them kind of an even level of wetness. If you haven't discovered it till too late, different colors are going to have different background effects. I chose one specifically that had some more intense background effects so that we could really see the potential of what was going to happen by leaving the hair on there. But not all of them will have quite the same reaction. And in those cases, you just need to make a decision on whether you want to have some potential backgrounds in a little bit of a line, or if you want to risk it. Maybe you'll be able to recover it, but maybe you'll lift out some color and add some additional brush strokes. It happens to me all the time, and I do just try to re-wet everything so that I get it to a nice, even wetness, and then you can't even tell there was a hair there. But when I don't discover it while it's still wet, I tend to leave it because I like backgrounds, and I also think it's kind of cute that Moogie made her little mark on the painting.